Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik from Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, it's Adam here after a little bit of a break. First of all, welcome to PlayLoad. This is all my video game pickups for the month of not only March 2022, but February 2022. I don't know if you guys saw the previous episode of PlayLoad, but if you'll indulge me for a second, I just kind of want to talk about what's going on, and then we'll get to pickups and all that sort of stuff. So, as you might have noticed, I've taken a little break from YouTube, and I explained this in the January episode of this same show. The only exceptions that have come out since then were the podcast, which is still happening, as well as content on my new channel, the Flying and Eating channel, which, by the way, I recommend checking out because it's a great little outlet for me to sort of get stuff out. That said, the reason, if you didn't see that video and you're like, why did this happen? Like, why didn't you make a Switch 5th anniversary video? Which, by the way, the Switch is 5 years old, and yeah. If you didn't see that video, I went through some trauma recently. The long story short version of that is that my childhood home, which I had inherited shortly after my mother died, had a sudden explosion, heavily damaging the house. Nobody was hurt, and fortunately, where I am at right now is where I live, so, like, video games and all that sort of stuff is here, but, like, stuff I grew up around, all that sort of stuff, plus, my late mother's house, who had designed that house, it's a lot, psychologically to deal with. But, we're moving forward, and insurance, thankfully got good insurance, and you start taking the steps forward. So I wasn't really sure if I was going to do a video like this for a little while. I'm still not totally back, but I wanted to make a special exception for this because it occurred to me that this show in particular, PlayLoad, I've been doing this show for now 10 years. This show debuted in March of 2012, so 10-year anniversary episode, as weird as that is to think about. And only 2 times ever have I not done an episode. There was, like, very early on, right at the beginning, I, skipped, I think it was June, maybe it was 2012, and I just kind of combined it into June and July into one video for whatever reason, and then last month for reasons I just explained. But I felt that it would be prudent to make one at this time and to say thank you to everybody for watching this show over the years. I did not exactly expect a pickups show to become such a regular thing, especially something like the last couple months where honestly video games and picking stuff up has not been my priority just because of life events. But yeah, I'm not trying to burden you guys with my troubles and my problems. I'm just trying to explain to you why you haven't seen me around much. I'm not stopping YouTube. I will be back. It's just a matter of time. And I'm probably going to kind of do a slow rollout before I kind of come back to full form. But anyway, I'm okay, and we're getting there. So let's talk about video games. In that positive spirit, I am pleased to announce I will be a guest at 2 different conventions coming up relatively soon. Midwest Gaming Classic, which of course is a big one. Probably the biggest one that I've never actually been to in the US. I will be a guest this year. The Sega Pluto will be with me. It will be playable. People can go and enjoy it. And then a smaller con called Como or COMO. It's a convention in Columbia, Missouri. I'll be attending that as well as a guest. Same deal. Sega Pluto will be on site. People can play it and come enjoy it. I hope to see a bunch of you guys there. And we'll start over here. The first thing I got, which was a little bit of a remnant, right before said fire situation, in my Discord, which, by the way, I have a Discord. Come join it. There's information in the description to all the social media stuff: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, etc. In there, one of the guys, one of my dudes, he told me about a Nokia N-Gage game that oddly I had never heard of, because I guess it only came out in Finland as a pack-in. So shout out to Finnutty, aka the Finnish Peanut, who is in my Discord. I ended up picking this up. This is a game called Flowboarding. It's just the cart because I guess it was never sold with a box or anything. The Nokia N-Gage was a very misunderstood handheld platform, and I was one of maybe 6 people on the planet who actually had it as a relevant phone. When it was out, that was my phone. For reals. And maybe one day we'll talk about that more in depth if we do the handheld recaps or any of that sort of stuff. But I have a mostly complete set. The only game I was missing is there's a Warhammer game on there. I've never had that. I wasn't even sure it existed, but it does. I just don't have it. And I didn't know this existed, but it does, and now I have it. So flowboarding, even though it's a very basic, like, nothing type of game, this is as complete as it apparently can get. So unless you have the actual, like, N-Gage that they came out with, where it's got a little bit of artwork displaying that this was in the box, but aside from that, like, that's the actual game. Not really worth anything, just kind of hard to track down, but happy to get a new N-Gage game. That might actually be the first time in the history of this entire show where that's been the case, because I think I finished my N-Gage pickups like before PlayLoad even began. I could be wrong about that, but I think that might be the case, so kind of appropriate. As I mentioned, it was the Switch's 5th birthday, and I'm sorry, I know a lot of people were like, where's the video? I couldn't do it, guys. But I want to say congratulations to Nintendo, because that's the big thing, is that the Nintendo Switch is now the highest selling home platform of all time for Nintendo, now surpassing the Wii. Which is good, because that was an embarrassment. However, there's a big caveat to that, because Nintendo includes the Switch Lite numbers, which of course are purely portable, so yeah, but either way, congratulations to them on their success and their presumed continued success. And if you guys want predictions, I would bet that maybe in like a year we'll get like some sort of next Switch update where they announce like, oh, we're doing this thing, and then maybe 2 years from now is like the real new machine, is my guess. I know that's a very truncated version of the video that you guys wanted, but that's basically all I've got to say right now. But with that being said, did pick up a game. Metroid Dread. I ordered this again early January. I got this from Gamefly. They were having... Gamefly is a service I don't think too many people even remember, but it was kind of like... It's a mail-in service where you subscribe and they just mail you discs and you try them and return them. It's like the way Netflix started. I still use that. I'm that guy. I'm that weird guy who still has Gamefly. But the reason I use it is primarily because it's such a great way to buy relatively new games for very, very little money, because they consider them used instantly. And then they give you all sorts of coupons and discounts for being a member. So I got this for like half retail. Brand new, basically. Like, you know, it's considered used, but it's really not. They maybe rented it to a couple of people, and then I buy it. So haven't had a chance to play it because all of the recent badness went on. But yeah, I got Metroid Dread. And then I got something from GG Retro Gaming. Now, I've mentioned GG Retro Gaming many times in the past. Great guy. Lives out in Sacramento. Runs an online store. I'll put a link in the description. He's been pretty cool to me for the last year. He just kind of occasionally he just sends me stuff. And usually it's completely random. And often the package is not labeled, and then I have to track it down with him and figure out what this was. But anyway, it doesn't really matter what I had to do. But this is it. This is, he sent me an Xbox 360 game. This is Bloodstone 007 from the James Bond era, which is an Activision game, which incidentally... This is something to point out, because I talked about this in my podcast, and maybe this will be news or will have broken by the time this video is out. But when Activision was acquired by Microsoft, it meant that Microsoft acquired the James Bond game license. They already own Rare. You see where I'm going with this. So all those rumors about GoldenEye N64 getting a re-release, that could be more realistic than you think, because that game was split by 3 parties. Nintendo owned a chunk of it, Microsoft owns a chunk of it because of Rare, and Activision a chunk of it because they own the James Bond game license. With 2 of them under one roof and a cooperative relationship with Nintendo, just saying James Bond, GoldenEye might be some sort of re-release in the works, and I think we've all kind of heard about that. But this is just proof that that's true, that Activision did in fact have it. The actual game, I don't really know. So then, other couple random things. I went down to Orlando, Florida. I went to Universal Studios. A couple of my Discord admins, we all hung out. Drud, as well as Dave. Again, you can go check out the Discord. Yeah, we went to Universal Studios. But while we were down there, Drud took us around to his hometown and had us go game hunting a little bit. I think I only picked up one thing, if I recall correctly, and that was this, Tarzan Untamed for the Gamecube. Now, why would I get this? So this was actually a little bit of an odd combination of things. I actually, when I was down there, I just bought the disc. That's all I got. The disc was like $5-6, something like that. It wasn't really significant at all. But a while back, like a few months ago, I was hanging out with another YouTuber who lives in Chicago. His name is Rocker Gaming. I'm sure a lot of you guys know him. He does custom controllers. I've talked about him quite a few times on this channel. He made me a custom GameCube controller and custom GameCube faceplate. As well as like upgrading certain aspects of my GameCube. He had just given me this. Like, he had a whole stockpile of surplus GameCube paraphernalia, and among it was this, Tarzan Untamed, the case, the manual, all great shape, just no disc. So you see the obvious thing there. Boom, now the game's complete. I have another one off the list. In case it isn't obvious, my GameCube goals are, and I've said it over the years, is I want every GameCube game that ever came out that did not exist on the original Xbox. And once you do that, it definitely thins out the numbers quite a bit, so it becomes vastly more practical. But boom, got another one off the list. Next up is not video game related at all. It's just something I thought I'd show you guys. This is a bunch of Magic the Gathering stuff. No, I have not got into Magic the Gathering. I actually know nothing about Magic the Gathering. I'm not into it whatsoever, and I apologize to those that are. So why am I sitting on this? Well, I went down to St. Louis for Mo Game Con Jr., which was unfortunately canceled, but they were still cool enough to bring me down, and we just kind of hung out. Now, one of the guys who runs that, his name is Chuck. He's a huge Magic the Gathering guy. Now, he's totally into it. I am not. I don't even know the basic terminology. I'm just not. But the reason he gave me all of this, and the reason he did, is because there was a game called Mana Strike, which is a mobile game that's a Magic the Gathering game. And I voiced a character in that game. I recorded it years ago in Los Angeles. We did like a whole thing. I played a character named Soren. And so now, Chuck has just been like on the lookout for any sort of Soren merch, and he just gives it to me. He's like, "Yeah, that's you, dude." So that was cool of him to do. So yeah, I voiced this character in a game. That's really all that is. So thank you to Chuck for that. Beyond that, we just have a bunch of packages. 5 of which are sealed up, and one is special, but we'll get to that in a bit. But let's go with these other ones. The only one of these I actually bought is this one, and you can see from there it's from Limited Run Games. So let's take a look at it. I kind of think I remember what this is, but I'm not totally sure. Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Inside we have, this is the Shenmue 3 definitive soundtrack. This is the score for Shenmue 3 all on CDs, the limited run version of that. This is getting a vinyl set, which I know I ordered, and at some point that'll show up, but very cool to have it in CD form as well, because obviously big. I don't know if you guys know this, I like Shenmue, I'm a fan. It also includes this like poster, which I think they just throw these in with every release at this point. Yeah, which is just a bunch of ads for other limited run stuff that's coming up. But very cool. But yeah, there you go. Shenmue 3, the definitive soundtrack. A few other packages. These both come from the UK. And I'm pretty sure I know what they are, but let's go ahead and take a look at them. Which I hate when they show you like this little arrow that says rip here, and then it like doesn't work. Okay, there we go. Inside. Oh, there we go. This is a relatively new Dreamcast game called Flea. I had actually talked about this a couple of different times. There was a CDR print run of this that was sent to me by Alistair. He's the guy who made this game. And I told him at the time, I was like, you know, there's just so many Dreamcast indies that like, I have to draw the line at the ones that are actually pressed on discs. So it's cool you got your game out, but like there's not much I can do for you. I'm happy to show it to people that it exists, but I'm really more of like, we got to draw the line at a retail release. And to his credit, he got together with Low Tech Games, and they decided to actually, and Wave, and they decided to do an actual like physical, nice press run of this. So this is a relatively new Dreamcast game, and I talked about it again a couple of months ago because he sent me some pins for it. Actually, I think I have them just sitting here. Yeah, these are pins for that game as well that I showed. So this is from that game. So very cool. So there will be a video on this at some point. Again, with my own personal situation kind of hampering things, but I will get around to it, I promise. So thank you very much to the guys at Wave and, of course, Alistair for that. And we have another one that I'm assuming is a similar situation, but I'm not 100% on. Oh, there we go. That one I was not expecting at all. This is Rush Rally Reloaded Special Edition. So this is interesting, actually. They included a note, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. Following on from the incredible success of Intrepid Izzy last year, which is a great game, by the way, during which almost 3,000 copies were sold in independent retro game shops in the UK and USA, we are delighted to send you a copy of Rush Rally Reloaded for the Sega Dreamcast, which is an awesome game, by the way. I remember getting this back in like 2009 when it originally came out from Red Spot Games. Then there was like a full DVD size re-release of it. I guess I had just noticed they did this in a jewel case, but I hadn't, you know. The retail pressing of this game, released in February 24th, 2022, which is this version, includes the original soundtrack and is limited to 500 copies. Rush Rally Reloaded Special Edition will be available exclusively from Wave website and retro game shops across the UK. As with all our indie Dreamcast releases, Rush Rush Rally Reloaded is region-free and playable on Dreamcast systems from around the world, with all video modes supported, including PAL, NTSC, and even VGA. I hope you enjoy playing. We really do think the game represents everything that is right about independent gaming scene, and we're incredibly proud to make it available. I agree with that. I won't be doing a video on this specifically only because this game, like I said, the basic version of this has existed for 12 years, something like that. I've had it for that whole time, and then I even bought the re-release years later. But it's cool. Like, this is a very good game. I can highly recommend it. It's very similar to those like Micro Machines, Sega Mega Drive games if you're in Europe, Sega Genesis games I know we had over here as well. This is a pretty fun racing game. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know they even re-released it. Because this obviously came out after the whole fire incident, and I just didn't pay much attention. But thank you to the guys over at Wave. Highly recommend it. I'll put a link in the description as well if you guys want to check it out. It's kind of cool art, too. It's like a weird combination of the PAL and NTSC art. After that, and I'll put a link to Flea if I didn't already say that as well. Beyond that, I got a package. This comes from a guy named Kevin, who I've met a couple of times out in New Jersey. I'm going to tell you a little side story. I was a guest at Too Many Games. AVGC, which is a convention in New Jersey years ago. And you had a whole bunch of like real YouTubers, and then you had me. So you had like Pat Country, the Norm, the gaming historian. I think James Rolfe was there for a little bit, et cetera, et cetera. A whole bunch of the usual RGT85. He and I actually had a table, and he didn't show up to it. He had like a real life event, like a hurricane that prevented him from getting there. Anyway, so a whole bunch of YouTubers are hanging out, and I'm there with them and stuff. And they're all like selling stuff. Like Pat has his books he's selling. Norm is selling like DVDs of his show. Like, they're professionals. I'm sitting there with a table and nothing to do. So I thought it would be kind of funny to just to make a mess of my table, just to have some sort of like performance art, if you will. And so whenever I would get lunch or something, I would leave my trash on the table, but I would autograph it just for fun. Just, it's not meant to be taken seriously, other than kind of like a Keith Apicary type of joke. At one point, Kevin came around, and he saw this, like, I had like a Wawa coffee cup that was just empty, just sitting there, and I had signed it just as a joke. Like, I wasn't asking anybody for money or anything. I wasn't expecting anybody to take any of it because it's worthless trash. And he actually was like, all right, hang on. And he pulls out like a bunch of pocket change, and he puts it down. He's like, all right, I'm going to give you that for the coffee cup. I'm like, dude, just take the coffee cup. He's like, no, I'm going to buy this from you. And I felt so guilty because I didn't want money for an empty coffee cup. I ran around to all the other guests. I was like, Pat, sign this. Norm, sign this. I got like all the other YouTubers to sign it, and they all felt like, what are we signing a coffee cup for? It's all right. So then I gave it back to Kevin, and I was like, there, now that's worth a little bit. It's actually signed by a bunch of people, so it's an oddball thing. Unfortunately, he told me years later his cat destroyed the cup, so he doesn't even have it anymore. But long story to say that Kevin has decided to do some purges of his collection, and he sent me some stuff. I don't know entirely what's in here. I know one thing, but beyond that, I'm not sure. So Kevin, thank you for this. Huge shout out to you. Let's go ahead and get into this box and see what we can come up with. Okay, he recycled an Amazon box, which is good. And I love these little cutting tools. Okay. All right, he's got a note here to start it off. Okay. I finally have that Logitech OG Xbox wireless controller for you. I'm sending you the controller unit receiver, so you still need your other part for a complete set. I don't know what that says. And some PS4 and Vita things. How are you doing with everything? I've been better, but thank you. Oh, he says, from Kevin, a.k.a. Cup Guy. So yeah, inside, let's see. This is the receiver he was referring to. Let's try and get through the bubble wrap. And yep, there it is. This goes back a little ways. I bought a Logitech wireless original Xbox controller, I think at like a Value Village in Canada. And it was in good shape, but it didn't have this. This is the receiver necessary for it to communicate with the Xbox. But for that price, it was worth checking out. So he was cool enough to send that my way. So thank you very much. As well, oh no, sorry, what did I pick up? I don't even remember. I think I picked up the receiver and not the controller. But either way, he sent both, so here's the other one. Yeah, I don't even remember. It's been so long. But yeah, he sent the the controller, and an extra wireless receiver. See, there you go. There's the controller. Boom. It's actually, oh, it's got power too. I wasn't expecting that. It's not a bad controller. It's not as good as the actual like Microsoft like Xbox, you know, S style controller, but certainly nothing to complain about. It's nice to have a wireless controller option for the OG Xbox. So thank you, Kevin. He also sent a couple of random things. So let's take a look here. I don't know what these are. I'll get through them. This is like a stack of PS4 games. It's Final Fantasy Type O HD. Thank you. Shadow Warrior. And a Realm Reborn Final Fantasy XI5 14. But anyway, yeah, wow, I wasn't expecting that at all. Thank you, Kevin. That was very nice of you to do. You didn't have to do that. And then he also sent another stack of stuff here. Like, he had told me about the Logitech controller, but that's all he'd ever mentioned prior to this. Although you just saw his notes, so I guess that's what he was referring to. And he sent some Vita things. This is Fighting Climax X. Japanese release, looks like. Hyper Dimension Neptunia Rebirth. As well as Hatsune Miku Project Diva 2nd. All anime stuff. Thank you very much. We have slightly different tastes on those things, but that said, I like the whole Sega aspect of it for sure. So thank you very much, and I'm sure that'll make a lot of people jealous. But seriously, Kevin, thank you. You didn't have to do that. And as always, guys, as I've told you over the years, you don't have to send me stuff. Nobody has to send me anything. I don't expect that of anybody. It's very nice. I appreciate it. Thank you, but you don't have to do it. But that said, the next one is also from someone who sent me stuff. This goes back a ways too. Years ago. I think it was like 2015 even, maybe like 2014 possibly. There was a guy in Germany who had gone to Japan for a while. I think he was there as a teacher for like a year or something like that. His name is Stefan. And he had bought a whole bunch of Japanese stuff for me before I ever started going to Japan myself. And he shipped it to me. So that's actually how I got like my Apple Pippin and a whole bunch of other great things he had sent my way. And when he got back to Europe, he started buying like European stuff for me. I remember doing videos where like I showed all these like European Sega Saturn games that he had rounded up. And he had also thrown in a whole bunch of candy and stuff. And then he just kind of like fell off the face of the earth. I didn't hear from him for years. And eventually he resurfaced and he was like, "Hey man, I just hope you're all right. I'm doing well, this, that, and the other." And he's like, "I'm sending you something." And I was like, "Okay." And then he told me what it was. And then that was like a year and a half ago. And then he like just forgot to ever send it. I kind of forgot all about it. And then he randomly messaged me like, I don't know, back in January. And he's like, "Hey, I'm finally sending this thing. It's on its way. Here's the tracking number." So here it is. So let's go ahead and open it up. And I expect it to be pretty cool because I'm pretty sure I know what's in it. Although the box is pretty big for this particular content, but let's take a look. I'm assuming it's gonna be more candy than anything else, but let's take a look. Yep. First of all, we get a Lind orange chocolate bar. Very nice. Because it's not like I don't need to get more obese, right? Hanuta Cocoa Krispies. Oh, these are some good ones. I've had these before. We got Prinzen Roll Minis, European chocolate. It's far superior to what we have here. Ooh, the Nutella Be Readies or Breadies. I'm sure it's pronounced Be Readies, but you meant to read it both ways. These are very good. And there's a few more hidden underneath. We got Manor vanilla wafer type of things from Vienna. I think, oh no, there's one more. Oh, and Super Mario Brothers, how appropriate, given the Switch anniversary. Haribo gummies. That's it for the chocolate, though, but there was a real reason he sent this, was these two games. Wow, they're actually here. This is, wow. This is Yeti Sports Arctic Adventures for the original Xbox, and this is Knights of the Temple 2 for the original Xbox. Now, the cool thing about these is these are the last two European exclusive original Xbox games I needed. The last two. Knights of the Temple 2 is an interesting one because it was released throughout the majority of Europe, and it's not super hard to get unless you want the British version, which is unfortunately very hard to get. The German version, which is what this one is vastly more common. The big difference being just that the back of this is all written in German, but the actual game plays in English, so it really doesn't matter, and the spine is in English, so it ultimately doesn't make a whole lot of difference. It's just kind of a cosmetics thing. What's interesting about Yeti Sports, though, is this game was only released in Austria and Germany, very uniquely. Even back then, that was kind of odd to have a game come out in basically one or only two countries. Like, that happened from time to time, but it's not common. As a result, this is it's not necessarily valuable because it's still the original Xbox, but this is one of the hardest original Xbox games to find. And they're both complete, which is awesome. So provided they have no issues on disc or anything like that, then my European original Xbox set is finally completed, which is awesome. Which I guess technically that happened with the N-Gage as well without thinking about it. So that's kind of cool for the 10th anniversary. So thank you very much to Stefan, and I'm going to enjoy eating that as well. But we're not quite done. We have one little box here left. This one is going to be strange. And you'll have to be patient with me and indulge me here for a second because I have a story I have to tell you. So obviously, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, there was this big fire at the house I grew up in. And so as a result, one of the things you have to do after things like fire investigation and all that sort of stuff is completed is there has to be people who go through the house and start, assessing the contents of the home. And, you're expected to partake in that to an extent. So there was this box. And it was hidden behind a wall that I put there as a kid and totally forgot about it. So here's how I remember this going. When I was in high school, that was about the time, the Dreamcast was essentially done at that point. PS2, Xbox, and Gamecube were still the dominant things. 360 had not launched yet. So it was that era. And at the time, I was preparing, high school's ending, so it's time to do that switch where you get ready to go to college. And in that case, college, I would ultimately go here, where I am currently. I still have the same place. And at the time, I believed, like a lot of people do, you have this fear that once you move out, your parents might start getting rid of your stuff. Now, I had conditioned my mom pretty well. And I told her, don't get rid of my stuff. But still, I didn't totally trust that she wouldn't. So I remember this initial year of I'm slowly moving out. I would still go home, but then I would be here for school and go back and that type of thing. But I kind of remember just not fully being willing to leave that house. And over time, I started moving out and just whatever. But there was a phase right near the beginning where I delusionally thought that, even though she would have never done this, but I guess at the time I wasn't totally sure, that I put away some of the video games that I was afraid my mom was going to take and get rid of for whatever reason. Because parents do that. They're like, oh, look, he's not here to defend his things. Let me throw them away. Fortunately, my mom never got like that. But I was still afraid of it. And in one aspect in particular, but you'll have to forgive me. I don't totally know what's in this box. I can only see the top one. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I remember what this is. So as I recall, around 2005, I looked at all my video games, which was a much smaller collection than it is now, obviously. And I thought, okay, there's a few of these I should probably put away because I really wouldn't want my mom to get rid of them. And for the most part, I didn't really think she would, but her one Achilles heel, if you will, on video games was that, well, she never got in my face and said you can't play violent games or any of that sort of stuff. The one where she kind of had a problem with it was horror games. Not because of any reason other than she thought it would give me nightmares and then she'd have to deal with it. You know what I mean? That was the extent of it. So you have to understand, I'm 35 now. I'm going back into the recesses of 20 years ago, into my 15-year-old mind and being like, what would she react to if she saw some of these games, etc. And so with that in mind, I remember, but I don't remember which. I plucked a bunch of these games, put them in this box, and the way my room was at the top of the house. So my room used to be an attic, but it was retrofitted into a bedroom. And as a result of that, there was a whole bunch of doors that are just kind of leading to basically airway corridors that where piping and stuff is. You're not really meant to go in there. what's the term for it? I can't even remember. But like, you just, you put stuff in there and you just kind of forget about it. Like, not even like a storage room, but I'm sure the word will come to me later. But anyway, there's like these little alcove type of rooms that you just put stuff in and forget about. And that's exactly what happened. And it wasn't until the fire where I was forced to just, you're forced to just purge. You have no choice. You have to unearth stuff. Fortunately, because this was in a sealed box behind a door, behind a cabinet, behind a bunch of stuff, this didn't actually get any fire damage or smoke damage, which is actually the more common thing. So, well, at least as far as I know, I've only seen the top one. It looks fine. So, I thought it would be fun once I found this box and I kind of remembered what it was. We'll go through it. We'll look at these games that childhood me put in here. And, who knows? I'm betting it's stuff that I probably rebought later, and because I legitimately don't remember what any of this was, and so I don't remember even forgetting I had it, if that makes any sense. Like, I might have rebought these things thinking I never had them in the first place. I don't know. You have to understand, like, you're talking about something that happened 20 years ago, and I at best can only kind of vaguely remember doing. I was a little shocked when I saw this, because it's one of those things you're like, wow, that brings me back, but at the same time, I don't remember how I did that. You know what I mean? But anyway, enough of that rambling. So, this is weird, because it's like, I did this, but this is like, my mom bought these for me whenever I was, in that age range. Or I bought them, like, because you got away with it. Like, you would go to GameStop, you're like, I'm not old enough, but you buy it anyway, because mature rating, maybe they wouldn't care. I don't remember, because I don't know entirely what's in here, but I'm just trying to soak in this moment before I go through it, because there's no way something like this is ever going to happen again. And in a weird way for me, it's kind of like my mom being like, here's some more games. Even though she didn't do this. It was because of her that it happened, but she didn't do it, if that makes any sense. So, okay, enough stalling. Let's just do it. So the first game we have is Mortal Kombat Armageddon. This was the only one I saw in there for the original Xbox. I don't think I have this, but I'm not 100% sure. Oh, yeah. That's cool. Well, it's in good shape. Next one up is... maybe I should do this thing where I like just don't look at it. Capcom versus SNK2 EO. Or again, original Xbox. Maybe it's just a stack of original Xbox games. I might have this one as well. I'm not 100% on that. But okay, here's what we're going to do. Again, I'm not going to look. I think that'll be more fun. This is... now I know why I hit that one. Playboy the Mansion for the original Xbox. Anybody remember this game? I don't remember it being any good. It was like a Sims type of game. I could see why probably 15-year-old or 16-year-old me or whatever it was would have been like, let's just put that one away. I don't want like the mom coming in to clean up and be like, ooh, smut. Even though, again, she wouldn't have done that. But, you're going into the mind of yourself 20 years ago. It's kind of weird. That's cool. It's complete. Okay. Fatal Frame 2. I didn't remember owning this. Fatal Frame 2. It's got I could be wrong, but that looks like a 360 case. How would that... I'm trying to remember, like... You have to understand, I don't remember. I just don't remember. Is it possible I did this... Because 2005 was the year I moved out. That was also the year 360 came out. Maybe? Maybe I did it then? That would make some sense. I don't know. But that's cool. I didn't have this. At least I didn't remember having this. Fatal Frame 1. Same deal. It's a 360 case. Wow. I don't remember if I have this one, though. Yeah. By the way, that ghostly appearance, that's like how the whole the whole house looks like that. Just covered in nasty. All right. Let me feel here. 1, 2... I think I feel 1, 2, 3... I feel 4 more. Eternal Darkness! Okay, I actually do remember this one. Because this was a cool game. This was made by the guys who did the Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes remake. There's been some talk somewhat lately about this coming back. Possibly with some sort of Switch version. This was like Nintendo's like attempt at like a real horror game. That's cool. Wow. There's part of me that's like thinking that some of these might have belonged to a friend of mine too. Because like we used to do that thing like where you share games with each other. And I kind of remember having this one friend where like His name was Brian. And I kind of remember doing this thing where we would like, you know, like hold on to each other's games sometimes. Maybe I owe him a call. I don't know. I'm wondering if some of these came from him. I don't know. Like, I'm sorry. Again, I'm going into like a vague memory from 20 years ago. All right. Let's see. Ooh, Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door. Look at that. That might lend some credibility to that idea because I was never an RPG guy. This might have been his, but he might have given it to me, or left it there, or we put it. Dude, I don't remember. I haven't seen him in 20 years. Wow. Okay. Rule of Rose. Holy shit. It's complete. Wow. I kind of remember playing this, but I thought we like rented it or something. $2006. Okay, so that would have been after the 360 came out, which would explain the cases. So that would be in that phase when I was still living there, but I was like coming back and forth. I think I might have bought this at like a GameStop or something back then. There's like recesses of a memory there. I can't believe I forgot about this. Wow. Okay, I doubt anything's gonna top that. But and Kuon. This is that. Kuon's a horror game, right? 2004. I'm trying to remember. This is another GameStop pickup. It must have been. I probably got them around the same time. I don't remember much else about Kuon, though. Yeah. Again, how I'm thinking this happened, I probably bought both of those in GameStop in like 2006. I think these ones belonged to my friend Brian at the time, I think. These I must have probably bought around then, and then either swapped the cases, or there's just GameStop doing GameStop stuff, or they just swap cases out. It would make sense that I put all these horror games together, right? And then these, I probably just hid that for smut. And these I probably just, I don't know, maybe I thought they were fighting games. I don't remember. Wow. So Rule of Rose being the big winner there. But wow. Well, it's probably a bad lesson to teach people, but don't throw stuff away. I'm kind of in awe, especially because of Rule of Rose, because like that's so infamously expensive and rare. Sorry, I'm usually more wordy, as you know, but I'm a little stunned because this is also kind of emotional for me because I'm like trying to figure this out while also realizing like I did this, but my mom sort of did this. And it's like, I probably wouldn't have found these if it weren't for the fire. Or maybe I would have eventually. I don't really know. Sorry, there's a lot going in my mind right now, and so I should probably stop before this gets, before it goes into directions that are less pleasant. But yeah, so I need to process that mentally. But yeah, as far as other videos, like I said, there's some Dreamcast ones I want to do, like Flea. There's some from the last episode. I'm still going to do the one on the Satiator, etc. Stay tuned for the podcast. The Flying channel was going to have a kind of a regular release for at least a little while, weekly, until I run out of content, I guess. But whatever, we'll deal with that as it goes. Thank you to GG Retro Gaming. Thank you to the buddies in my Discord. Thank you to Rocker Gaming. Thank you to Stefan. Thank you to Alistair, Wave, etc. Thank you to Kevin. I guess thanks to my mom, sort of. Maybe I did buy these because, again, I would have bought horror games. I liked horror games. But I don't know, that doesn't explain Paper Mario. I'm wondering if Brian gave me this or something. I know you don't know any of these people and it doesn't make any sense to you. I'm just processing. Anyway, I won't bother you with any further. Thank you guys very much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Social media stuff in the description. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon, all that. Thank you guys as always, and I'll see you all later.